As business leaders, we find ourselves at the intersection of innovation and responsibility, where the decisions we make regarding artificial intelligence can profoundly impact our organizations and society at large. Today, we aim to delve into the importance of establishing robust AI governance, frameworks, and ethical considerations that not only align with business objectives, but also contribute to the responsible development and deployment of AI technologies. I'm delighted to have Kit Chuan, KC, Chief Executive Officer at Temus. Temus is a digital transformation company which is majority owned by Temasek to share valuable insights on this crucial topic. As the CEO of Temus, with a strong background in enterprise development, how do you view the critical intersection of AI, governance, and business strategy, especially in terms of fostering responsible AI adoption within organizations?
Thanks for having me here. I think firstly, we should understand why AI governance is so important, and this relates to why AI itself is so important to business at large. And there are probably three aspects of it: pace, impact, and the potential for harm. If you look at the pace of AI adoption, it is unprecedented. Therefore, we're at the brink of a technological revolution, which is driven by AI. And ChatGPT, for instance, took 2 months to reach 100 million users. In comparison, TikTok took 9 months, and Instagram, for those of us who are familiar with Instagram, took 2.5 years. The impact of AI is very significant. If we consider other technological developments, whether it's IT and automation, it doesn't have as far-reaching an impact. They automate routine tasks, but AI has the potential to disrupt high-skilled jobs, and therefore it will change businesses and how we do it. And lastly, the potential for harm. It was a recent statement, a speech made by Geoffrey Hinton, who is known as the godfather of AI, and talks about the potential for harm in AI. And one is that it can be used by bad people to get bad outcomes. So we're familiar with things like cyber terrorism, bioattacks. Of course, in Singapore more recently, we have seen the deep fakes with Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister providing investment advice. Second risk is that sometimes AI itself can drift, and the evolution of it may actually result in unintended consequences, seeking to control humanity. So for those reasons, AI governance, therefore, is important in this new technology that we're all, in this new world that we're all coming into. And I feel that one important aspect of AI governance relates to transparency. A lot of people say AI is a black box, and we need to unpack this black box and understand, for instance, through transparency, which relates to the governance of how, to the guardrails around how AI is run, understanding how decisions are made. What data does the AI use to make these recommendations? So that's why I feel that the intersection of strategy and governance is so critical for AI.
Yeah. What guidance would you offer to business leaders seeking to integrate ethical considerations into the AI initiatives?
So firstly, I think businesses will have to define what ethical considerations are important to them. There are probably two aspects to it. One is values, and then the second is the ethical considerations. Although they're similar, they're not necessarily the same thing. And businesses can say that, for instance, I prioritize fairness, I prioritize customer value, I prioritize inclusiveness. And then secondly, how do these feature into your AI models and tools? We want to make sure that they don't inadvertently use AI models that have a bias and therefore do not prioritize these ethical considerations. Let me give you an example. So if I were to look at hiring data for a firm and over the last 10 years and use that to drive my decisions of picking suitable candidates, assuming that over the last 10 years I had a majority of male applicants, the AI model might inadvertently think that there's a bias towards the male gender. and you have to be deliberate in terms of taking that out of the selection. What this means, I think, for business leaders is that they cannot outsource the use of AI to their teams. I mean, because it's a technology topic, it's very, I suppose, tempting to say that I don't understand it and therefore my technical people can look at implementing it. But to do so means that they are not taking accountability of something that could have far-reaching impact and consequences. The same way that no CEO will say that I am not responsible for the financial results. Somebody else in my finance team is responsible. So too, AI, we cannot say that my technical team is responsible for implementing AI and therefore I'm not accountable. So I think those two have to come together, and that's why it's so important.
So our next question, considering the dynamic nature of AI technologies, how can businesses stay adaptive to evolving ethical standards, and what role do continuous learning and development play in ensuring that the workforce is equipped to address the emerging ethical challenges in AI?
That's a great question. I think businesses have to stay at the forefront of understanding how AI is going to impact the way they work, the way they interact with their customers. We are really at the early stages, and we need to understand the implications. So if I were to use an example like social media, which today 85% of people in Singapore are all very actively involved in social media. And yet, the landscape continues to evolve. Right? When we started, data privacy was a concern, cyberbullying was a concern. Now you have things like fake news. And so social media companies have continued to evolve. They introduce new policies, they self-regulate. But so too, governments have also introduced new regulations to deal with developments such as fake news. So I think similarly with AI, as we understand how generative AI, for instance, will impact the landscape, businesses need to stay at the forefront and continue to understand how these developments can impact their business model, can impact how they interface with their customers, can impact how their employees. And it's only through such efforts that they can remain ahead of the curve.
With the evolving landscape of AI, how is Temus involved in initiatives that promote skill development and training, ensuring that the workforce in Singapore remains at the forefront of technological advancements?
So, firstly, I think as a small country, it's very critical for Singapore to be agile in terms of developing these new skills. According to a LinkedIn report published last year, people in Singapore are very quick in terms of specifying that they have now acquired AI skills. So the question is, how do we make sure that the population at large continues to pick up these new skills? At Temus, we're very proud of a program that we have introduced called Step It Up, and that's IT in capital. It is a technology career conversion program which takes people without any IT skills and computer science background, and in 4 months' time, we turn them into full-fledged developers and software programmers. We have done 3 runs of this now, 20 per batch, so 60 in total. We had 3,000 applicants in total for this 60 positions, so very competitive. And our first batch was in .NET, our second batch was in low-code, and our third batch is in digital business analysts. Digital business analysts are at the intersection between business and operational technology considerations, and they advise companies in terms of the digital solutions that best suit their needs. I'm always very inspired by the backgrounds of the people, of what they did prior to joining this program. So we have a chef, we have a tutor, we have a platform delivery driver, we have an optometrist, we have an offshore research engineer, we have a news editor, we have a professional musician. Nothing to do with digital, and now they're all full-fledged programmers and working at Temus. And this is the kind of career agility, the skills reboot that we strive to achieve and offer to people in Singapore. And I would argue that this is the only way we can meet the growing demands, not just for AI, but really for IT and fluency in the digital space.
Can you share examples of partnerships or projects where Temus has played a role in nurturing emerging talent in AI, contributing to the growth of a skilled workforce in Singapore? Are these ongoing projects to assess completeness and accuracy of AI-generated content?
Yeah, so I'll give you a few examples, Lina. So firstly, there's an initiative that's jointly put forward by the Singapore government, Ministry of Communications and Information, and Google Cloud. And that's called the AI Trailblazers Initiative. Temus developed an interesting tool for talent acquisition using this initiative, and we won an innovation award. See, the background is that at Temus, as we grow, we need to assess the candidates who are interested to join Temus. And we need to look at 100 CVs to make one successful hire. So for the poor HR person in Temus, they have to go through 100 CVs. Obviously, it's very tiring. So what we did was to develop an AI to see through these CVs, to recommend the questions that should be asked of these individuals, to select the specific skill sets that we require, and even to automate the task of inviting them to come for an interview. So that's what we have done at Temus for our own needs. And of course, at the recent fair, many companies were interested in using this tool. The second is our partnership with AI Singapore. And that was meant to, we signed an MOU with them last year, and that was meant to help companies in Singapore adopt AI solutions, amongst others. And Temus is playing a role in helping them look at data collection, preparation, and governance issues. And in doing so, hopefully accelerate the adoption of AI for these companies. Third is a partnership with Ngee Ann Poly, one of our local institutes of higher learning. And this initiative is called a digital factory. Under this program, the Polytechnic's employees and students can jointly work with Temus to develop applications that bring on board AI, as well as human-centric design, amongst other things. So this helps to upskill their employees, while at the same time making sure that they can bring on board new solutions that take them through the digital world.
Right. Reflecting on our discussion today, how do you envision the role of AI governance evolving in the next few years? And what opportunities or challenges do you foresee for organizations in this landscape? And also, many shared on the cost of embarking on AI tech is steep. How will that translate into long-term savings for the early movers?
I anticipate that there will be a greater focus on transparency in the whole AI space, given that many people view it as a black box. And with transparency, hopefully then that lays the ground for understanding, and which is the precursor to trust. So then the question is, how do we foster that greater transparency? Is it through self-regulations or policies that companies themselves introduce, or is it through more government regulations? And for instance, the Singapore government is looking at how generative AI can impact our overall AI framework and guidance. I think it's going to be a mix of two, and ideally, the public sector should work closely with the private sector. And perhaps that's an advantage where small countries like Singapore can bring to bear. I mean, we can introduce regulations that are more focused on outcomes rather than on policing processes. And in doing so, hopefully we can be more adaptive and take into account new technological developments in this AI space. So I think that will be the things to look out for, the transparency, the evolving regulatory framework, and we can expect and hope that companies will work together with governments to create a better AI for society. I think to your question about cost, I would say that it's always expensive for early adopters, but early adopters also have an advantage in terms of shaping the landscape, in terms of gaining access to the talent, which is limited. And I would say that the cost of inaction is probably higher than the cost of embracing and taking on board AI solutions today.
So in closing, could you share a key takeaway or piece of advice for our audience, especially business leaders who are navigating the complexities of AI adoption and ethical considerations in their organizations?
Well, firstly, to my fellow CEOs, I'd say you are not alone. We're all trying to navigate and understand this complex landscape with the potential to impact and disrupt in so many ways. Not just how we work, not just what we do, but also how we live. And I would say that let us all work collaboratively together to use AI to build a better society for all.
Thank you so much, KC, for sharing your invaluable insights and critical topics of AI, governance, ethics, and talent development. We appreciate your time and expertise, and we look forward to seeing how Temus continues to contribute to the advancement of AI while upholding the highest ethical standards. And thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here.